If the regular season were to end today, the Lakers would not even qualify for the play-in tournament. With their loss to the Mavericks, the Lakers dropped to the West number 11 seed, tied in the loss column with the number 10 San Antonio Spurs, who own the tiebreaker via conference record. The Lakers have 7 games remaining, and they could have LeBron James and Anthony Davis back for Friday's matchup versus the number 9 seeded New Orleans Pelicans, who lead the Lakers by 1 in the loss column. But let me slow down. Let's not hold our breath, because who knows if LeBron and Anthony Davis will even play against the Pelicans. Not only do the Lakers continue to have the toughest schedule remaining, they're likely going to have to play through it without either LeBron James or Anthony Davis, at least in the short term. LeBron sprained his ankle against the New Orleans Pelicans, and the news around Davis's doubtful listing is encouraging as he took part in practice for the first time since suffering his foot sprain. But his injury status is an improvement from being listed as throughout recent weeks. Still, the end result is that neither are likely to be fully healthy as the Lakers limp their way to close out the season. In a summary, for the Lakers to even make the play-in game, they're going to have to pull off numerous upsets in the final 2 weeks of the season. Basically, they're going to play a final game every single night while hoping the Spurs stumble at the same time along the way. The small silver of good news is the Lakers and Spurs tied their season series, which means the next tiebreaker for them would be conference records. The bad news is the Lakers are 16-28 versus the Western Conference, while the Spurs are 20-24. In the event of a 3-way tie between the two teams, division records would come into play between the Pelicans and Spurs and would be impossible to predict. For some simplicity, here's a more simplified look at things, 3-way tiebreakers notwithstanding. So let me give you some scenarios. If the Lakers even somehow finish 4-4 in their final 8 games, the Spurs have to go 5-3 to tie them, while the Pelicans would have to go 3-4 to match the Lakers' final record and win the tiebreaker. If the Lakers go 3-5, the Spurs would need to go 4-4 to catch the Lakers, while the Pelicans would need to go 2-5 to remain ahead. If the Lakers go 2-6, the Spurs would need to go 3-5 to catch the Lakers, while the Pelicans would need to go 1-6 to remain ahead. If the Lakers go 1-7, the Spurs would need to go 2-6 to catch the Lakers, while the Pelicans would have the 9th seed sealed. And the final one, the disastrous one. If the Lakers go 0-8, the Spurs would need to go 1-7 to catch the Lakers. And with such a tough schedule ahead of them the final 2 weeks of the regular season, the Lakers are heavily flirting with the disaster of not making the play-in game at all.